You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rudrance for Black and White Sports 2. My goodness, this is turning into a nightmare of epic proportions for the Denver Broncos. Look, an organization that I thought was pretty stable for the most part. But now the organization's getting turned down on their head coaching job for the Houston Texans. That's right. And it seems, in fact, the Denver Broncos can't hire anybody they actually want to hire. And this is turning into a unmitigated disaster. Now, I can't help but believe at this point, because you got Walmart ownership who's supposed to have deep pockets, but are they secretly cheap? And we don't know that. And if they are, why? Okay, you had rumors out there that Sean Payton had an issue with one of the owners. He did come out and debunk that, but did he debunk that for the sake of other jobs, just to make it look better? I don't know. And there's no doubt that the Russell Wilson situation is playing a massive role in this. He was a disaster this last year, and you've got a situation where now you've got an aging quarterback that was mobile, that is on a disastrous, just beginning of a massive contract, and you've also got a lot of draft picks that no longer exist because of said disaster of a quarterback. All the Russell Wilson cringy stuff away from the field aside, at least if he was playing like the old Russell, I think you could probably deal with this. But we may be looking at least the third Denver Broncos candidate that has now said thanks but no thanks. And this last week we found out that Broncos ownership went up to Ann Arbor for Jim Harbaugh after he already said no and he wanted to stay at Michigan. And if you were this candidate and you saw that report, did you go, well, I'm certainly out of it now? This is crazy. The Denver Broncos are getting turned down for the Houston Texans. And this is nuts. Larry Brown Sports. Broncos turned down by another top head coach candidate. The Denver Broncos have been aggressive this offseason in pursuing a big name for their head coaching vacancy. But yet, another top candidate has reportedly turned them down. San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator Demeco Ryans is now free to negotiate with other teams after the Niners lost to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. There have been reports that Ryans is the top choice for both the Broncos and the Houston Texans, but it sounds like he is leaning towards joining the latter. He's going to the Texans, folks. According to Ian Rappaport of NFL Media, Ryans recently informed the Broncos that he is no longer interested in the job. Quote, the Denver Broncos also had significant interest in Demeco Ryans. Rappaport said Monday after interviewing him, they received indication that his intention is to head elsewhere. He's going to do a second interview with the Texans this week. Assuming all goes well, and it should, he'll be named the Texans' next head coach. Though things may still work out for the Broncos, it sure seems like they've been swinging and missing on a lot of head coaching candidates. Jim Harbaugh was said to have been one of their top choices before he once again reaffirmed his commitment to Michigan. The Broncos even reportedly made a last-ditch attempt to change Harbaugh's mind after he removed his name from consideration. Sean Payton is still linked to Denver, and he remains available. However, he may ultimately go back to Fox for another season. And we talked about this before, but Payton really wants the LA Chargers job or the Dallas Cowboys job. This has turned out to be a disaster. This is a disaster. When you get turned down, and I understand Demeco Ryans played for the Texans, but what are we missing here? I cannot help but think, and to a lesser extent, they've got this problem in Arizona too. I cannot help but think the Denver Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals are being hamstrung in this coaching search by their quarterbacks. They're undersized, overpaid quarterbacks. And in Russell Wilson's case, he's aging. And we don't know for sure whether Russell can still play. I mean, that is nuts. They wanted Jim Harbaugh. They wanted Sean Payton. And I've got to wonder, okay, it says that Demeco Ryans was their top candidate. But did Demeco Ryans look at the quarterback situation and then look at the fact that just this past week they flew to Michigan to talk to Harbaugh again? Did he see all that and literally sit back and go, you know what? The Texans and Kyle McNair is more stable than the Broncos. If that's the case, this Broncos situation has turned into a disaster, a nightmare, a cluster F. And we're finding out the Walmart group, the Walmart ownership group that the NFL was so fired up to get into the league, we are finding out that they may not be quite as stable as looks perceived. And then there's the situation with George Payton still being there. What if they decide to get rid of the GM next year? Well, all of a sudden, the new GM they bring in is going to want a different head coach. Maybe that's something else they're looking at. This is a mess. When coaching candidates are literally turning you away, the Denver Broncos, to go take the Texans job, you've got a horrible situation on your hands. You can't help but think all that money to Russell Wilson, all those draft picks to Seattle, him aging, him playing like a disaster. That situation with Russell Wilson, all encompassing, is ruining the Denver Broncos right now. We talked about that being the second worst trade since the Herschel Walker trade. And now you're seeing carrying over ramifications. By the way, you're going to see this in Cleveland too. This is going to be an issue in Cleveland. You're going to see it in Arizona. To a certain extent, you're seeing it in Arizona because Kyler Murray's got a massive contract that is not even really started yet. And when I was looking at it, they can't get out of it. Nobody can get out of it for 2 or 3 years. These organizations have horribly hamstrung themselves by believing they got quarterbacks that are Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, some of these guys that you absolutely know are the real deal. Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, those kind of guys. Kyler Murray is not one of those dudes. Russell Wilson is no longer one of those dudes. Deshaun Watson sure isn't one of those dudes. This is a horrible look for the Denver Broncos. I mean, they may be down to like their 4th or 5th or 6th choice. Think about that. 4th, 5th, or 6th choice by the time they get around to hiring somebody. And there's word out there they've told Raheem Morris and David Shaw that they're not going to pursue them any longer. Well, that leads you to believe they got somebody they're about to hire, but you're finding out that the guy they were going to hire looks like he's going to the Texans because he told them thanks but no thanks. This is an embarrassing situation for the Denver Broncos now. Tell me what you think, Black and White Sports 2 supporters. What's going on with the Broncos? Is this all about Russell? Is there something about that ownership that's oozing poison right now? Whatever it is, it's bad. It's a terrible look. I didn't see this coming for the Broncos, really. I mean, but when you can't, as a head coach, when you can't choose your quarterback or have the flexibility to at least draft one high as a backup, and you don't have any money to spend, this is This is almost a dead man walking job coming straight in the door if you can't get Russell Wilson to throw 35 touchdowns next year. I don't know. And then after that, who's to say it's going to stay a good job? Nuts. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.